out the Bush regime to support the new coalition, No to Torture, YOO Must Go, and the unveiling of a new billboard, which is one project of that new coalition. Roll Can't Wait is part of the No to Torture, YOO Must Go coalition, and the only reason why that coalition's name is not on the billboard is because the billboard company refused. Visit www.firejohnyou.org to get connected. There will be opportunity for interviews and photo ops at the end of the press conference. Our first speaker today is Gerald Gray, a human rights advocate who has encouraged UC alumni to withhold donations. Please welcome Gerald Gray.
I'm Gerald Gray. By profession, I'm a psychotherapist, and for the last 18 years I've provided rehabilitation services for refugee survivors of torture. The university contacted me, periodically it does, as it does all alums, to contribute to its coffers. And I followed the lead of a friend of mine who said, I'm not going to contribute so long as YOO works for the university. That's a different variation on the Fire YOO theme. The university may contend that it can't fire him. I'll leave that to them and to the lawyers. But I'm not going to contribute, and I know a number of other people are not going to, so long as he works there. Moreover, I've said that I won't contribute until they have a policy that's stated publicly of not hiring people who've worked in any way with torture. This is meant to deal with what I think will be an influx of professionals, clinicians, lawyers, and others from Guantanamo and other places looking for university positions throughout the country. I believe students and graduates of all schools can consider this kind of move. What's wrong with saying the university must publicly state that it's not going to hire anyone designing or implementing torture in any way before funds get contributed? That's what I've done. That's what I'm doing with this.
Now we have Gray Brecken, an historical geographer and author who has challenged members of the UC faculty to speak out regarding YOU's presence and representation at the university.
I'm Gray Brecken. I have 4 degrees from the University of California at Berkeley, and I am a visiting scholar at the university, and I agree completely with what Gerald just had to say. I will not give any money to this university, to the Alumni Association, or any other part of the university until YOU is gone. It was last spring, actually, that I was in Budapest. I read in the International Herald Tribune an editorial against YOU, which I believe first appeared in the New York Times. It contained the clause, YOU inexplicably teaches at the University of California at Berkeley. Well, that went out to millions of people around the world, and it is indicative of the fact that YOU's presence at my university has brought international obloquy to this university. Interestingly enough, it has not shamed the university itself. I think that the university is actually beyond shame. This is a university that is not the same as the one I came to 40 years ago. However, that one clause in that editorial did get the university administration's attention. So the Dean Edley of the Bolt School of Law was forced to issue a statement about the university and Bolt's position on this very questionable person on its faculty. And what essentially it came down to is that the university can take no action because of academic freedom as long as you has not been tried in a criminal court of crimes. Well, I think that that is an extremely low standard for an institution of Bolt's status. On the other hand, it gives YOU cover because he is in the faculty. Now, I believe in academic freedom, but I do not think it is absolute, particularly if a faculty member has committed international crimes of the magnitude that YOU has committed. These are far beyond other grounds for dismissal, such as sexual harassment. This is really aiding and abetting policies which violate the U.S. Constitution and the International Bill of Human Rights, which the United States is signatory to. About 2 years ago, we had here at the University of California an exhibition of paintings by Fernando Botero, the internationally famous artist, of torture at the Abu Ghraib and Guantanamo concentration camps which the United States has set up. There were several panels of faculty discussing the meaning of those paintings, and they really were horrific. None of them, however, discussed the fact that the person most responsible for them is on the faculty at the university here. I think that is absolutely shameful. But it's also indicative of the degree to which the university has changed in the last 40 years. As I said, academic freedom is not absolute in the case of crimes such as the one that he has committed, but it's also a two-way street. Other faculty members are entitled to speak out against the presence of John Yoo. They're also entitled to shun the man's presence. They don't have to be collegial with this man. And yet, as far as I can see, that is not happening. There's almost total silence upon the faculty because of the presence of this man, which has brought such shame to our university. So I really do call on other alums to withhold any kind of funding to the university, and I applaud the efforts to have an international tribunal onto the crimes that John Yoo has committed here in Berkeley in the fall. I hope that you will all join in that tribunal. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Elliot Cohen of the Berkeley Peace and Justice Commission to speak on the status of the proposed John Yoo resolution before the City Council. Here's Elliot Cohen.
At the Berkeley Peace and Justice Commission's last meeting, we passed a resolution. The resolution did four things. First, it reminded Council that we had previously passed a resolution calling for the impeachment of John Yoo, Donald Rumsfeld, and other high officials in the Bush administration. Next, we asked that the City of Berkeley sign on to the letter being submitted by the National Lawyers Guild, which calls for an investigation into John Yoo's teaching credentials at the university and a determination of whether or not writing the torture memos could in fact be a basis for his removal. In contrast to what the Dean of the Law School has said, even though committing a crime is grounds for removal, there is some flexibility in the academic rules that state that they can do an inquiry and they can determine, it's an evolving standard, they can determine whether or not removal is merited for certain acts, and we believe torture is one such act. The resolution also calls on the university to make available to any students that are in mandatory classes being taught by John Yoo an alternative professor to teach those classes, so students do not have to have their law school education delayed or hindered because they refuse to take classes with John Yoo. And finally, the resolution calls upon the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of California to bring war crimes charges against John Yoo. That's the status of the resolution. It was passed at the last meeting, and it is probably going to go before the City Council when they reconvene in September. We want to thank the folks for putting up this sign and for coming here to Berkeley to help us get rid of John Yoo. We thank the citizens very much.